Hey everyone, I'm Alex, and welcome back to another edition of Outdoor Hospitality Weekly. Joined as always by Matt Whittemore. And today we're going to tell a story from one of Matt's campgrounds up here in New York about how we took a single campsite at a 65 site park that went from making around $1,600 a year to a campsite that makes $40,000 a year. And Matt's going to kind of dive in, give us a little bit of background about the property, and we'll get talking about how the story came to life.
Love it. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, so this campground was acquired in 2021, mid-season August 2021. It's a very rustic, very pretty much rundown campground on 26 acres in a really awesome spot in the Catskills, famous fly fishing creek, wild country in the mountains. We've got bald eagles and black bears and beavers and all kinds of fun stuff. Just a true like wilderness retreat, but 2 hours from the George Washington Bridge in Manhattan. So a lot of compelling things about it. Didn't make a ton of money at the time of acquisition. Needed a ton of work. Still needs a ton of work. It's a labor of love. It really is. But yeah, so we acquired that, and we had some vision for some sort of development there. We, keeping the campground use for sure, but going up market, at least with some of the sites, to get more revenue. And it's just such a special, picturesque, enchanted forest of a campground that it just calls for not only a higher priced accommodation, but just accommodations in general. Right now, it's the property's really for the last 60 years been known for tent camping among hunters and fly fishermen. And now it's got a mix of seasonal RV sites, some vintage campers that are, glamping rentals, tent sites still, some transient RV sites. And now we have this site that's a luxury cabin that we're going to talk about today. So not going to go deep into that whole story. We did a whole nother podcast and video on that. We'll link it in the show notes if you want to dive deeper into that. And so, yeah, that's the long and short of it.
And Matt, as you were kind of going and launching this, as you said, purchased in 2021, had this idea of it needed to turn into something else, right? Just the revenue potential, like there was just a lot more there than what was presently on the property when you bought it. And as you were talking with people in the industry, and being that this was your first campground deal, and probably not knowing too much about kind of the landscape of things, you got a lot of different opinions and sort of wisdom from people on what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Ultimately, this project launched with just the one A-frame cabin. But talk to me a little bit about what was the advice you were getting, and what were some people kind of warning about early in this process before the first unit ever arrived on property?
Great question. And I'll actually back up a little bit too. So originally, our ultimate goal for this property was to create a tiny home village or a tiny home resort. We have a much more sophisticated vision now. So, it was kind of early in the buzz of the glamping and campground days. And that was what we envisioned. That was what was out there. It was still the days of, 57 different tiny home shows on HGTV and the tiny home craze, which is, I think, kind of gone by the wayside a little bit. I mean, it's still out there for sure, but yeah, so our vision has evolved and become a little bit more sophisticated and educated. But to your question about the advice, I've had a lot of people come look at this property and networked with people and tried to get advice. And I don't think it's bad advice by any means. But, we were told since it's a rustic campground, there's really no amenities. We were mixing unit types that, some people basically told me not to do it, that I was risking more than I stood to gain in terms of I'm going to get bad reviews. I'm going to get, on Google, on Airbnb, which it is a big risk. It really is. There's no disputing that. But the kind of conventional wisdom was that this is a luxury A-frame cabin. It's 400 square feet. It's got this big picture window overlooking the creek. We're getting $250 a night, which I think is low given the occupancy that we achieved of 86% plus over the season. That occupancy tells me that I'm low on the rates. But in that neighborhood of average daily rate, back to that conventional wisdom, it tells you I'm going to need amenities. People are not going to want to drive through a campground to get to it. They're not going to want to see older trailers or campers or whatever. And to some degree, that's true. But based on what we achieved, I think that either there's exceptions to that rule of conventional wisdom, and we do have a very special spot. So I think maybe that's the reason that it's just very unique and people aren't going to find it anywhere else. So maybe they're willing to put up with seeing a 20-year-old camper trailer, 100 feet away. It's a very quiet campground, but we had 50 5-star reviews, four 4-star reviews. So I think it went pretty well for the first season.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people as well will kind of maybe have some questions about how the unit was selected and kind of what that process is like. I think, some people on one end of the scale may assume almost like mobile home park, looking like dumpy old unit. And there were some of those there at the property while you were there. I would, as you mentioned, check out the other full story of this if you want to see some great photos of what was there. But if you're looking at the whole park model industry and that term, maybe you can break down for some people as well who may not be familiar with that. You look at that, and some people may have some traditional ideas around the type of unit that we brought in and the styling of that. I think what ultimately was selected and what you went with was quite different. Fits this property really well. Fits our type of clientele that's coming in from New York City really well in terms of the design. So Matt, why don't you just break down, like I said, what a park model unit is, or what the park model industry currently looks like, and how the type of A-frame and style was ultimately selected.
Absolutely. So a park model is short for park model recreational vehicle, and that is a more permanent, not permanent, but more permanent than
it's not drivable for folks who may understand. There's no easy way to just, okay, we're gonna turn on the engine and pull this thing right out of here.
Right. So it's usually stick built or modular, but a lot of them are either log cabins. The traditional ones are like, there's a company called Lancaster Log Cabins that's kind of the original, or one of the original in the space, especially in the campground space. They're awesome. Yep. Great product, storied company, big fans of them. And but they're very much campground. They have evolved even in the last year or two. They've evolved with their more modern designs, but a park model is a larger, more permanent trailer, recreational camper trailer. They can be up to 15 feet wide. They can be up to 400 square feet. Most of them are 399 square feet. The width
on wheels.
They're on wheels. Yep, they're on wheels. They stay on wheels. You can skirt them to hide the wheels. It's about $130,000 sticker price to buy this specific unit. It's manufactured by Zook Cabins. It's their A-frame model. It's getting pretty popular out there. I've seen some kind of landscape hotels and resorts that have a bunch of them. It's a cool design. It's got the big picture window in the A-frame looking at the creek. Really kind of showstopper that gets people in the door. And it's an interesting, I hesitate to use the term loophole because it makes it sound like I'm maybe skirting the law, which we're not. But when you have a campground and you're looking for something more substantial, more weather friendly, higher end to place into a campsite, in most jurisdictions and municipalities, it's viewed as a camping use. It's viewed as an RV. So it's a campsite. You can park a travel trailer in it. You can park a park model in it. And you go from a campsite that makes $50 or $70 or $80 a night, or a few $100 a week, or $1,000 a month, to something that makes $250 to $800 a night, even with some of these really high end destinations. So that's what we did. It's kind of a funny juxtaposition of what you can do in this industry. And I literally just tweeted it today. It's a picture of this old 1960s canned ham trailer that was in the same site for 40 years. The guy that owned it never came up to the site, but he didn't want to clear it out for sentimental reasons. He camped in that site his whole life, and eventually he ended up moving sites, and so he was paying $1,600 for the entire season. So we took it from $1,600 for the entire season to what conservatively on an annualized basis would be $40,000, maybe even $50,000 for the season.
I was gonna say,
granted,
you could make that in a week versus a month. That's the difference.
I mean, granted, it's a lot more work to run a short-term rental luxury cabin than it is, a seasonal campsite is pretty much hands off. But for what we're looking to accomplish, it proved to be a pretty solid proof of concept, and it's informing our path with the property going forward. And we're super excited about seeing that. And it started off as this idea of, okay, we found this campground, it's a cool spot, it's a really cool piece of property, something special is going to happen there. Maybe it's going to be a tiny home village some years down the road. To fast forward 2.5 years later, we've got this high-end cabin in place. We popped it on Airbnb, no marketing, really no, just put it on Airbnb and let it go. And it rented so quick. And it was $250 average daily rate ish, maybe $248, and 86% occupied from June to November. And we're only running it seasonally for now, but even if those numbers tapered way off to 15 or 20% occupied in the winter, it's still going to make that $40,000 or $50,000 a year. We got to figure out. We have some hurdles to figure out how to operate in the winter, which is no small task. But we can do it. We've got the team to do it. We've got an experienced developer on our team to tackle that, make it happen. So it might take another year, it might take another 2 years, but we've at least got the confidence of, we put these units here, they're going to rent. We don't even need, for it to be financially feasible, we don't need it to be 86% occupied, 50% occupied. And at that ADR, the numbers are great. So, then we talk about, okay, we get rid of some of the old campers and we add some amenities and, fix up the property even more. It'll just be that much more of a beautiful setting and probably can command higher rates. So we're excited about it.
And I think, Matt, you kind of just walked through a lot of the financials there. And I think people will, at least one of the first reactions I had as well when we started working together and you told me this story was like, man, how the hell did this thing get full with no marketing? And I think this kind of leads into the story around kind of the styling of the unit, kind of the right placement in the right property. I mean, what would you say um, really led to the success of this, with it only being posted on Airbnb, as you said, kind of no real marketing juice behind it, but an experience where people just really began to fall in love. And we not only saw the proof in the financials and these numbers, but really in the terms of the number of people that would come back over and over, and the satisfaction that people had with great reviews and really loving the property. Um, what do you think really led to that experience, if you could really pinpoint one or two things?
I don't think I did anything particularly special to attract that. I mean, literally, I think I did a pretty good job of making an Airbnb listing, and I think it just goes back to the property. It's in a very cool town that gets a lot of buzz in the Catskills. It's just a spectacular, breathtaking piece of property. It's 2 hours from the George Washington Bridge, as I said earlier, and that's really what, jumped out at me when I first saw this property in 2021 was, holy crap. Like, you could blindfold me and drive me around for like 2 days and then say, we just arrived in Alaska, and like you could tell me that and I'd believe it, because it's mountainous, it's enchanted forest, it's all kinds of wildlife.
Even like
It's
20
really,
to 30 minutes away feels so different than kind of being right there itself. I think, as you
right.
said, it really is about the right unit selection, having the right clientele available to rent the unit, right? Being that New York City is only 2 hours away. And then, yeah, having, right unit selection, right location, right customer base. And I think that altogether led to an incredible experience.
Right. And that's what we haven't really done any, we're starting to, but we haven't really done any marketing of consequence. We haven't done any activities, any programming, any partnering with local brands. And that's something we're going to do in a big, big way. It's already all in motion. So I think the sky is the limit once we get marketing on our side. And I think that's an interesting segue into like, okay, we did this, we accomplished it. What's next? And it's still don't have it completely figured out. We've identified a concept to pursue over the next 3 to 4 years, and we're excited about it. I mean, it's not a small project, and we're not like totally reinventing the property. Like I said, it's going to remain a campground. I mean, the whole place really needs new infrastructure, electrical, water, septic and sewer, some tree work, some,
It's really just kind of enhancing what's there,
yeah,
making it that kind of spot on the community that people are like, you've got to check out this place. This is
right.
incredible. And yeah, kind of adding those things that facilitate the property in a better way, right? It's those community spaces. It's, making it more naturally beautiful within the landscape. It's kind of all of those things that just, no matter what type of unit you're staying in, everybody loves if those things are there and they look great and they're inviting and warm and welcoming to people.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we've got our work cut out for us. It's going to be a busy 3 to 4 years of making it happen. But to some degree, before we had this little small proof of concept, it was just kind of a half-baked idea in a lot of ways. I mean, we did our research, we surveyed the market, we studied it, very, very intensely. So I'm not saying we didn't do our homework, but it's kind of an unknown thing, and it's an interesting sort of subset of outdoor hospitality where glamping's been around forever. I wrote a little piece on glamping today, and glamping was added to the Oxford English Dictionary in 2016, which I thought was kind of funny to read. And it's a big thing in Europe, predating that by quite a bit. Under Canvas was one of the companies that was a pioneer of that, and I think they were founded in 2012, something like that. Maybe even earlier. Maybe it was like 2009. Um, so I've always had this idea of glamping, and I have kind of a love-hate relationship with the term glamping. I mean, it's here to stay. It's adopted. It's the there we have the what is it? The American Glamping Association has is an awesome organization that so the term's going nowhere, and that's neither here nor there. But I think there's when I talk about glamping, I've kind of grown to use that term to describe temporary accommodations. Glamping tents, domes, maybe yurts. I feel like yurts are kind of on the line of, when I talk about glamping, I talk about soft-sided units primarily. And people use glamping to describe a very wide range of types of properties.
I think that's our frustration too. It's like it means something for somebody else versus one thing to somebody. It's a very, as you said, kind of loose fitting term. But I'll let you continue.
Yeah, and then so I think that's kind of birthed another whole subset of this industry, which I think is the term there is evolving as well, and that term is landscape hotel or landscape resort. We use, I think, a broader term of outdoor hotel or outdoor resort. And there's a few reasons there. I think landscape hotel and landscape resort implies that something is usually built into the landscape, like actually physically built into the landscape. Whereas if you have a tiny home on wheels or a park model cabin that's just sitting on the land, like, is that really built into the landscape? All this is evolving. It's such a new kind of, it's and at the same time, it's an old industry. Like, outdoor hospitality is nothing new. There have been ski resorts and mountain resorts and like adventure resorts for a long time. It's just getting its day in the sun, for the last 5 years now, and it's evolving, and there's new people getting into the industry. I think, like, credit to guys like Isaac French and Ben Wolf for putting a lot of great content out there and doing some really cool things with landscape hotels and landscape resorts, and putting that term out there and really socializing it and getting a lot of views to what we're all trying to do in this industry, which is incredible. So, I think we're maybe somewhere in between, like, glamping and landscape hotel resort. At the end of the day, people go to Covered Bridge Campsite because of the creek, because of the mountains, because of the bald eagles and the quiet and hearing the creek. And we're not gonna like drown all that out with like crazy amenities or concrete or asphalt or buildings. Like, I don't even think we're gonna like build a building. We're gonna get some cabins on wheels. We're gonna get some glamping tents. We're gonna add some saunas and cold plunges and really programming and activities. We have so much awesome stuff around fly fishing and guided hikes and foraging and chefs cooking awesome things over campfires and just like so many incredible things, so many awesome people in the community. We want to be a venue and a place for them to come do the things they want to do and have an awesome place to do it. So, it's feels like it's finally coming together, at least in an initial concept stage. I think we're kind of getting the ball rolling down the hill on making it something really special. I mean, it is already something really special, but to enhance it and make it a more comfortable space for more people with different lodging preferences to all enjoy it. We're not going to do away with classic camping or primitive camping. It's really the soul of the property. So we're going to gradually add units or year by year. We're going to work through, I mean, it's New York State. It's not an easy place to develop real estate by any means. We're going to have our work cut out for us to do some infrastructure work thoughtfully without disturbing the environment. That's our mission too, is to preserve the beauty that is there. So yeah, we're gonna work through a multi-million-dollar, multi-year, multi-phase project. We're gonna have a lot of fun doing it. We're gonna host a lot of really awesome events and make a lot of connections with some wonderful people. And excited to do that with you, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of as you're stating, and to wrap things up here, right? I think we're incredibly excited to peel back the curtain on all of this stuff as well, and really bring you guys along on this. I think this is, fairly undercovered in the industry, in the sense that most people don't get to see a project from, call it, start to finish. Or kind of the last few episodes we've done connected with Covered Bridge have been really about telling you about all the work that's gone on so far. But as we go into this multi-phased, multi-year development, like, you guys are going to be right there with us, seeing how everything evolves from the early stages of adding now what'll be Unit 2 through finish, and really the addition of all of these great assets to this, what is an already incredibly great property. And so, yeah, excited to go on this journey with you and bring everybody in on it. And yeah, stay tuned for more as it comes to marketing and operations and development and all of the great work that we're going to continue to do this off season. So with that, I will wrap things up. Appreciate everybody for joining us today and look forward to another great conversation here soon. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Alex.